So if I had to create the slogan for NIGA and it to be placed on a billboard, I think what I've learned through all of this is that together we're better. So nobody stands alone. One thing we did at the beginning of the pandemic is created across the Indian country, there must have been 10 or 12 marketing directors on a weekly call. And it was amazing how we could share in each other's struggles and brainstorm. And I think that's what I learned is, together we're better. And we ended up closing on March 17th and we at 2 a.m. in the morning, and we opened on May 26th. For team members, it was very difficult. Once the decision was made that we could no longer support paying our team members and we had to furlough them, the struggles were very difficult on many levels. Telling team members that they no longer had a paycheck coming every 2 weeks, and then trying to assist them with navigating their way through unemployment. I don't know how many people before this had ever been to the unemployment website or knew how to log in and create an account and all of the craziness that went with filing for unemployment. So, we tried our best to assist team members and to, go ahead and click here and this is going to pop up. And so that was one of the biggest struggles, I think. Once we closed our door, our COVID management team immediately started planning on how we were going to open up safely. We were very lucky during this time where we had our Swinomish public health officer to guide us through so many of the nuances of COVID and the ever-changing demands and restrictions and recommendations. And so we met every week, talking about what's next, how are we going to do this. So I think the struggles for team members were just the unknowns, so many unknowns. Will I have a job? When we do reopen, what is that going to look like? Am I going to be safe? So having to really help these team members face their fears and try to reassure them that things were going to be okay was very taxing, but also, like I said, it was for the COVID management team to stand by each other and, sometimes pass a tissue because I'm going to lose it right now. But, getting through that as a team made us stronger. So other struggles, just on a total personal note, 6th grade math. Teaching 6th grade math did not end well in my home. At the start of the pandemic, there was a group of us who later were known as the COVID management team who pulled an all-nighter. We were here for 24 plus hours, sitting in the boardroom, making the decision, do we close our doors? What will that cost? We have a responsibility to our tribal community to provide funds. And so the impact of us making that decision goes further than just, we're closing the doors. How does it affect our shareholders? It affects very deeply as far as what services can be provided, medical, dental, elder services, child care. So it was a very emotional night for us. It was very important for us as a management team to make sure that we were here to talk to our team members. It wasn't something we just wanted delivered in an email or through a text message. So we, at 2 a.m., we made the decision and we went down on our casino floor and we spread out and we talked to our supervisors and our team members. And we said, for the safety and abundance of caution, we're going to close our doors. So, sorry. Yeah, it was pretty emotional. We then, as a team, kind of helped clean up, picked up ashtrays and glassware and put it all away, and had sent the team home and waited for the next team to come in, the morning crew, and sat down with the morning crew and talked to them as well and let them know that, we were closing and we would have to make determinations on when we opened. Initially, it was going to be for a 2-week period. I think initially for everyone that closed, it was going to be a 2-week period, which stretched on into the months. So it was amazing and awesome and horrific and frightening all at the same time. So the changes we had to implement in marketing as a result of COVID were new. Were very new to us. We went from driving as many folks as we could through the door. Before it was get folks here, get people, butts in seats, and then it was only get 10 butts in seats. So and 10 is just a round number. But we were very limited on our capacity, so we had to pivot immediately. We also had been closed for, from March 17th to May 26th. So any of my data that I had previously was outdated, and literally the world had completely changed. So any of the data I had previously was not only outdated, it was almost irrelevant. People who had jobs no longer had jobs. People who had Monday through Friday and were only coming on the weekends no longer had anything to do Monday through Friday. And so we really had to brainstorm and see what we can do. So we turned to digital marketing. We sent out our offers based on somewhat guidelines on our previous guidelines, and then we had to be able to react quickly. So snail mail was no longer an option. I couldn't wait 6 to 8 weeks to get a piece of mail in somebody's hands. I needed them to know the information immediately. We had to update we had just updated our website, but we had to keep our website current with all the changes. Yes, masks are required. Yes, social distancing. Yes, our limits. We have limitations on how many people we can let through the door. We had a ticker up. We're at this occupancy, so customers knew, yes, I can come without waiting in line. We had to figure out the signage, immediately. Social distancing signage. I'm sure you guys saw it everywhere on the floors, but also how to make people aware of that, because there's too many signs, people stop seeing them. But I think just leaning heavily on email and SMS messaging is something that helped us to be able to evaluate the customer in real time and respond. So during COVID, the player's value was very disrupted. Like I mentioned earlier, people who had jobs no longer had jobs. People's, not only their financial state, but their personal priorities changed. And we really had to determine how to speak to those players now. It was no longer, hey, here's a $100 promo play, come on in. Because a $100 promo play was not worth maybe being exposed to COVID, or, instead their questions then became, what are your safety protocols? How am I going to be safe? And that's what we heard more than, typically, where's my promo play? I was waiting for my promo play. It was more, how the safety issues, and then how people's savings was affected, and folks who had a disposable income may not have had that anymore. Parents who had children in school and activities no longer had that anymore. There was no daycare options. So not only their wallet may have been reduced, but their time was also reduced, their free time. So we had to rely very heavily on analytics and real-time data instead of looking back, which we had before. So during COVID, I think the main issue with direct mail was timing. So if you historically you pull a list, you make sure everything is correct in the list, you send it off to the printer along with the creative assets. The printer puts it through their print shop and mails it out. And I guess we all know with the changes in the post office, things are rather slow. So you have to have quite a bit of lead time. And with COVID, that lead time, we weren't afforded the luxury of that lead time. For 2022, I'm most excited to see faces, to shake hands without fear, to welcome back some of our players who feel like family but haven't been comfortable in the last 2 years to come through our doors. On my way over to talk with you, I saw a gentleman who's been coming here for at least the last 15 years, and I haven't seen him. And he said, "I'll be right back. I'm on my way to a meeting." And he said, "How's the family?" And I said, "The family's spectacular." He's like, "That's all I need to know." And so just those small interactions that we used to have with our customers or our team members, that's what I look most forward to in 2022. So again, looking back at the past 2 years, lessons learned is flexibility. You have to be able to be flexible. Things have to be fluid, and you have to adapt to change immediately. Previous to this, change was slow for me. I always wanted to baby step my way into things. It was very difficult for me to get used to doing something new. And now it's like, oh, we're going to change that? No problem. Excuse me. That's going to change? No problem. We got this. Give me a day. Before I'm like, okay, let me think on that for a week. Let me get back to you. And so, being flexible and really being able to understand and put yourself in somebody else's position. Look through life from a different lens and understand what other folks are going through.